Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our studio interview series here out of Switzerland, out of Herisau. And it's my honor and pleasure to have Forbes Gemmell here, the Vice President Corporate Development of Discovery Silver, one of the largest and best silver projects in the world. Forbes, welcome.
Thanks, Johan. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. You're on a roadshow here in Europe. Thanks for stopping by. That's fantastic. Discovery Silver. The last months were quite of interest, I would say. You have brought out your pre-feasibility study. Maybe you can give us some numbers on that, and how is it going with the feasibility?
Yeah, sure. So our pre-feas went out at the end of January. We feel it's defined a tier one silver asset. That logo or that branding gets thrown around quite a lot, but when you look at the production, I mean, this is almost 35 million ounces silver equivalent, which would make it a top three primary silver mine. It's mine life, almost 20-year mine life with clear extension potential beyond that. And also its cost profile with AISIN around $12.80 for the majority of the mine life, putting in the bottom half of the cost curve. Certainly we feel it justifies that tier one label. And that translates ultimately to an NPV at $22 silver of around 1.2 billion. So a lot of cash flow coming out from that huge volume of production and a very attractive internal rate of return around 30%.
Fantastic. And I think you're one of the largest projects in the world when we compare it with reserves, which is really important, right?
That's true. I mean, if you look at the S&P Capital IQ numbers, we are the world's largest undeveloped primary silver deposit. And certainly when you compare our reserves even to some of the biggest silver producers like Core and Heckler, First Majestic, we actually have larger reserves in all those companies. So it puts in context the size of the deposit. It really is pretty unique in the silver space, given that scale. Okay,
fantastic. So as we all know, permitting is a kind of a process. It takes time for sure. Let's say, what is the status as you are working on the feasibility now, but what is also with the environmental impact assessment? What is going on with the permitting? What are the timeframes? Can you please give us some insights here?
Yeah, sure. So the main permit is the environmental impact assessment. So we'll be submitting that in the second quarter of this year. And then typically in Mexico, it's around a 12 to 24 month turnaround time for that EIA, as well as the other sort of two more smaller permits that are required. So when you look at Canada and the US, where often you're waiting +3, +5 years for permits. In Mexico, there's a very open and transparent process, and it's quite efficient in terms of that turnaround time too. So if we submit that EIA next quarter, we may be in hand with permits potentially the end of next year or early 2025.
So, okay, that would be quite speedy, I would say. How does it look like if we look at cash? I mean, I think by end of last year, you had like $45 million, I think. Would that be enough to go to feasibility and then say, okay, now we go with the project finance?
Yeah, so look, we put out our yearly work program for 2023 at the start of the year. So our budget at Cordero is around 26 million. Our cash balance at the end of last year was 45 million. So there's a nice buffer there in terms of delivering that work program. On the back of that work program, we'll have a feasibility study in hand early next year. And then with that construction permit potentially in hand towards the end of next year, it gives us around a sort of 18 to 24 month runway here to look at all our project financing options ahead of that construction and the mine build.
So you think you have enough money and enough time to really use that wisely?
No, exactly. We're well capitalized. And certainly when you look at what we'll be delivering in terms of that feasibility study, I mean, that's a bankable study that we can then take around to the lenders. And so certainly advance things on the debt side. We'll continue to advance discussions as part of this marketing trip here in Europe, as well as ongoing marketing in general with our key institutions will be ongoing through the next sort of 12, 24 months here alongside that work.
Super. How is the support, let's say, federal, state, county, community?
Okay, why don't we start with the local support? So look, we're just up the road from Parral. So Parral was founded on a silver discovery about 450 years ago, and been mining there ever since. And so it's a mining town, and certainly the work we've been doing socially within the town has been well received. We feel there's a lot of support locally within that town, within that municipality in the state. Chihuahua is one of the top mining states in Mexico. It's the second biggest silver producing state behind Zacatecas. And when you look at the operating companies in the state, you've got Pan American, Ignico, Coeur, Peñoles, Grupo Mexico. I mean, these are big mines, big operating companies. I mean, mining is one of the pillars of the economy. And then look at the federal level, there's no point sort of hiding behind it. There has been some noise around banning open pit mining. For us, there's still a formal process in place. There's been no formal ban. So we're going to continue following that procedure. And I think the key thing for us, our project, is making sure there's local support, highlighting the social and economic benefits this project's going to bring. There's going to be multi-billion dollars worth of taxes and goods and services purchased over a very long period of time. There's no specific environmental sensitivities that relate to our project, and there's, like I said, that local support that we've already been working on too. So, so we're going to follow the process that's in place, and like I said, we're sort of optimistic. By the end of next year, or even early 2025, we should have those permits in hand. Okay, super. As I understand, you want to spend like 26 million also in exploration, but I think also hydrogeological holes, for the water supply. But what is still left from the last drill program? Because I think there is still some open meters, right, from the last 50,000 meters. So the 50,000 meters, we've drilled 50,000 meters if you include the cutoff after the pre-feasibility study and what we'll drill this year. So there'll be about 35,000 meters of that will go towards reserve expansion drilling, as well as targeting some resource expansion drilling as well. And then the other sort of 15,000 meters or so will go to engineering drilling for the feasibility study. So that will include hydrogeology as well as some geotech drilling. And then in addition to that, we'll have another 10,000 meters for our property-wide targets. There's one target in particular that has a very similar signature to Cordero that sits above the same intrusive, just up to the north. So we look forward to sort of drill testing that in the middle of the year. So that's something new which might come into play if you hit? We're keeping our fingers crossed. Let's hope for it. It looks pretty interesting. So, but we've done a lot of mapping work, field work. Obviously, we've got Gernot Wobad through us touring Europe with us here in terms of talking to that target as well. But it does show a nice chargeability anomaly. It's very similar to what we see at Cordero. Often that's indicative of sulfide mineralization, so that's where we're keeping our fingers crossed. Okay, super. So when does the news flow then start? On that one, we'll probably be drilling there middle of the year. Okay. So by the time we sort of go through the whole assay turnaround, maybe that's a sort of third quarter news flow type. So most important milestone for this year, really feasibility through, right? And initiating the permitting process too. So I think we'll parallel path those, as well as some of these property-wide exploration. We've got a big land package. Pretty much 98% of that's been focused, the drilling's been focused around Cordero. So there's some other very interesting targets. We're good to get going on that as well. Okay, super. And a higher silver price. That will definitely help. That will definitely help. Yeah, we're seeing some nice moves here. So I know you're pretty excited by the potential. Absolutely, I'm bullish. So, that's right. Super. Forbes, thank you very much for the update. I think we talk pretty soon then when you have released the first or the next results, not the first results. And keep fingers crossed. Please keep us posted and all the best. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Your time. Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Forbes Gemmell, the Vice President Corporate Development of Discovery Silver, and you heard it. Things are progressing. They are progressing well, and feasibility study will be done this year, definitely, probably in the third quarter, and also then really directly first quarter next year. Sorry, first quarter next year. I was too optimistic. Okay, but then also initiation of really very fast of the permitting process, and it goes quite fast. Hopefully, 12 to 24 months. So I think there's a good chance that by end of 2026, maybe beginning 2027, we will see the next silver producer here in Mexico. And I would suggest you have a look at the company and at the stocks really specifically, because we see it's way too cheap these days, those stock prices. And our first target is $3 and afterwards $5. So we are quite bullish on Discovery Silver. We are bullish on the silver price.
We keep you posted. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.